Hello, fellow fantasy sports fans. Welcome to MFSN, the Hub's Fantasy Baseball Strategy Show, Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. I'm here, as always, with Casey Vlad the Bone Scheinvold. By the way, I'm Dr. Dan Ratner, and Ross the Boss.
Hey, everybody, Ross the Boss. I feel it's like New Year's Eve. You know why? We got hockey playoffs starting this weekend, Casey Scheinvold. We got NBA playoffs starting this weekend, Casey Scheinvold. And there's only a few baseball games going on now, and there's 2 games tonight. I mean, it's a light schedule, so we can concentrate on our fantasy baseball teams and try to win our league.
Yeah, now let's start off with how are you guys doing in the league? You know, I'm paying attention to my team. We're in our silos. How are you doing?
I struggled because I didn't change my lineup enough a couple times last week, and I left some really good starts on the bench. So that doesn't help me.
If I hadn't changed my lineup, I would have left some good things on the bench.
There was a guy in our league that didn't start Tanner Houck yesterday. I mean, just a complete idiot. I mean, I can't say it, you know.
You're raising your hand, Casey, but it's me.
I think I was in the then I'm in his other league, the West Coast Ballers League.
We both didn't start him.
Yeah.
Listen, this is part of the struggle with fantasy baseball. His last start was a disaster. So why would you start him? Now, of course, in hindsight, it looks like we should have started him. But now we have to start him next game, and you know he's going to get bombed. Like it's tough. This is the way my year is going, guys. First of all, I think I'm having the worst injury luck in the league. I'm pretty sure, but I don't know. I mean, I've had Matt McClain go down. I had Noelvi Marte is not an injury, but he was suspended right away. Then I had Josh Jung go down. Then I had Ozzy Albies broken toe. So I'm hoping it doesn't get worse. But I've stayed afloat in hitting. My pitching, every pitcher I pitch blows up, and every time I sit them, they do well. So I should just play them all, and that's what I was doing for a while, except they were just blowing up every time. So let's get into the news for everybody. Let's talk about the injuries. I covered some of them just now, but what are the recent injuries this week that people should be looking out for?
Well, Tyler O'Neill, who's been one of the hottest hitters in baseball, just put on the 7-day IL. He had a nasty collision with Rafi Devers in a game. Was that yesterday's game or the game before? I forget which.
Game before.
And now Devers is going for an MRI on his knee. So that's going to hurt a bit for fantasy owners, both Devers being such a high pick and O'Neill carrying a lot of the teams early to their lead. So those are 2 of the big ones I think of right off the top of my head.
Ross, anybody to add?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it earlier, but Spencer Strider, everybody's picked for the Cy Young in the National League. He went down, just not for a few weeks, but he's out for the year. Surgery, he's done. He might even, there's a chance he might even come back. I mean, it's that serious of an injury. I mean, it's like an 80% chance he'll be back. So there's always that 20% chance he won't. But Strider, to me, he's a huge injury. I was worried about Salvador Perez because he hurt his groin. I know being a catcher, I think that's a pretty bad injury, but he played yesterday, played in the doubleheader, and you know he's fine now. But there have been a lot of close calls with players, but like you said, they're dropping. But we also have some. Let's talk about the good news. Some players are coming back in the next couple of weeks, like Bueller. Say it, Dan. Say Bueller, please.
Bueller. I wore my St. Farris shirt yesterday.
Verlander is coming back. I mean, we got some good players coming back in the next couple of weeks. So at least it's not all negative. So at least we can talk about the positive.
Look who else we got back. Uncle Ted. It's been a while. Good to see you. Of course, we're very familiar with you because we're in a league with you. So we get to talk to you pretty much every day. But welcome back. We hadn't seen you on the show in a couple weeks here. All right. So we covered some injuries. Obviously, you know, especially like in a 12-team league, injuries have a big impact. And like you're saying, Ross, it's very hard to replace a guy like Spencer Strider. But, you know, you can maybe find lightning in a bottle with one of these rookies, these young guns that come up. But are there emerging aces?
It's not Leiter. It's not Leiter.
I was going to say,
not him.
Speaking of Leiter,
no.
I mean, he got lit.
He was lighter fluid.
He was like putting gas on a fire. I mean, it was not good for the rookie for his first start. He gave up 7 runs. He had 3 Ks in 3 innings or 4 innings. I mean, but I think they're winning. I think Texas was up 8-7 before he came on the air. So
yeah, Kenta Maeda didn't pitch very well either. So
it was a hitter's game.
Seager, all those guys are killing the ball today. So yeah, Of course,
but listen, with a guy like Leiter, I just wanted to put in a plug for when you get him, don't start him in that first game. You have no idea what you're getting. And,
you have to start him. You have to start him in the first game. Come on.
I mean, look, if he's matched up against like the Oakland A's or something, maybe. Okay, Uncle Ted says Cannon was better yesterday than Leiter.
He was.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Jonathan Cannon, for those just Chicago White Sox pitcher.
The detective. Cannon, the player. Okay.
Yes.
5 innings. I think he had 3 Ks, 1 earned run. So it was not a bad start for him at all.
All right, and Uncle Ted is explaining why he's been away, and I appreciate that. It's a good, solid excuse.
To the new
we
house
like communication.
Wow. Congratulations on the new house.
Yes, congratulations on the new house. Absolutely. All right, so, in terms of emerging aces, though, we've been talking about, one guy that I've had my eye on, this is interesting because in our MFSN league, the redraft league, as you guys know, I have a co-manager, Eric, who is a MFSN fan, and he told me at the beginning of the season, he was like, pick up Ranger Suarez. And I was like, really? I don't know why that, and we picked him up and he has been lights out. Is he an actual emerging ace, or are we just saying he's doing well? Like Tanner Houck, I think he's doing well. Like I can't say he's an emerging ace.
Yeah, guys,
I would not say he's an emerging ace.
Let me give you guys a clue with fantasy baseball. I really don't assess players or teams until Memorial Day weekend. That's the cutoff for me. That's when I say to myself, okay, this player is for real. He's going to win the Cy Young. He's going to win the MVP. Or this team's for real. The Yankees are 13-6. Casey Scheinfeld, are they for real? They're a bunch of old men playing against a bunch of young guys in Baltimore. I don't know what's going to happen, but I use Memorial Day weekend as the cutoff date that I assess everything, and I will give you guys my assessment around that time.
All right. Well, when we hit that, we're gonna do a for real or not with Ross. We'll just do a whole show just evaluating that. I think it's a great idea though, and it's a good point also, Ross. It's like we don't know who's for real in certain ways here. What I think is when you got a guy with a hot start, you wanna give him a chance at least on your bench. It's like I've always said, give him a tryout. Let's see. Is this guy going to make it? If he's that good, I just did it with the guy. Who's the Cubs player that I just picked up?
Michael Busch.
Michael Busch. He's looked great, and you nailed it. He's a really solid prospect. Is he going to keep doing what he's doing? Probably not. But is he for real? I don't know. We got to see.
We talked about it. Keith and I talked about Michael Busch. He was a Dodger farmhand for a little bit. Very high prospect. Casey had him high on his charts, and the Dodgers traded him last year, and he did have like 5 home runs in a row in 5 days, and he's going to get the 6th. Could have broke the Cubs record, but he didn't do it. Right? So
no, I'm sorry.
Of course, Dan waved him immediately after when he saw him go before.
As always, I have to.
He tried to trade him to you, Ross, right away. He thought you should give him Jose Rodriguez.
A third of this show is Ross saying lies about us that we have to counter. I love it.
Lies, teasings.
Teasings. I like that. That's right. Uncle Ted said first month of baseball is always a lie, though. All right. Anthony Rodriguez says, "What's up, fellers? Good to see you here, Anthony. Let us know if you have any questions or comments."
A-Rod?
Yeah, it's A-Rod. Then Uncle Ted said, the weather is cold still. Balls are dropping at the warning track that will fly once it heats up. Ross, what do you think about that? You talk about that a lot, right?
Oh, yeah, I agree. The Chicago Cubs is a great example. Bellinger and Morel, all those guys in Chicago, they're hitting the ball hard, but it's like fly balls to center. So when it gets warm in Chicago, when it gets warm in Cincinnati, when it's warm in the Midwest overall, the ball flies out of that ballpark. So yes, I'm waiting for 85, 90-degree weather in the Midwest. It'll be fun.
It's coming soon. Okay, now let's move to our annoying closer of the week. Who is it for you? Who has bugged you the most? I can certainly give you mine because anybody who's rostering closers, you're going to have somebody who's really annoying. For me, it's Pete Fairbanks. He's pitching terribly.
Did you see his Instagram this morning? He posted like a 2-minute apology for getting killed yesterday. He just got racked. Oh, he went off on Instagram. You got to, after we get off, go to his Instagram.
That makes me like him even more.
Yeah, he himself. He was upset. He was really upset. It was one game. Fairbanks, don't worry about it.
Yeah. Now Uncle Ted says any one of his, Bednar is killing him. And this is interesting. When you're playing fantasy baseball, if you don't own shares in a particular person, you might not actually notice.
You're
really
not paying
important.
attention. Yeah,
I think it's really important.
His numbers
do
are
this every once in a while. Every 2 weeks or so, at least. Scan the teams. See what's happening, because you need to know what's happening. You need to know if you're going to buy low on somebody, if you can sell high on somebody, who needs what. Keep checking the teams. There's a lot to do. But man, so I didn't even know Bednar wasn't doing that well, even though I have Aroldis Chapman as a holds guy, and also because I think Bednar is going to get dealt, but not if he's pitching like this. He's not. Ross, what about you? Closer or annoying closer of the week? Who is it?
For me, it's probably he's not a closer. He's more of a setup, but he's just been getting racked every time you put him in. It's the Cubs closer, not setup guy. Nessus, is that how you say his name, Casey?
Neris, Hector
Neris.
Yep,
Hector Neris. He's just been getting racked the whole year. I mean, I thought this guy was going to become the closer by May, but he'll be lucky to be in the team by May. I mean, every time he's he gives up runs. I mean, it's horrible.
You have to be really annoying when it's just a setup man that's driving you that crazy.
Yeah, I mean, closers. You know who impressed me as a closer though? I watched him close a game out a couple of days ago. Is Jansen of the Red Sox?
He's a professional. He's been doing it for so long.
I mean, he hasn't lost a step. I mean, I always think he's hurt. He can't throw. I mean, he's throwing just as fast as he was 5 years ago, and he's getting saves. And the Red Sox have saves. They haven't been winning.
The Red Sox have the best starting ERA in baseball right now.
Really, really?
It's partly because of Tanner Houck last night.
Tanner Houck, Garrett Whitlock, Cutter Crawford, and Brian Bayo.
I love that.
I'm going to throw out Josh Hader because in the last 7 days, 2.2 innings, 13.5 ERA, almost a 2 WHIP, 0 saves, but 7 strikeouts in 2 2/3.
So you just described my whole pitching staff.
Yeah.
Okay. Uncle Ted points out Ryan Stanek is getting saves in Seattle now. Is this true, Ross? But is it going to stick?
Seattle is, to me, they're probably the most disappointing team so far. High hopes for Seattle, and they can't win. I mean, they're just
Stanek has 1 save this week, but a 5.4 ERA to go with it.
Yeah, so Munoz is out.
I don't know if he's out.
Yeah,
I think you have him on ice. I think he's resting a little. I think that
Munoz.
I mean,
Munoz in the past week does not have a save, but has a 0 ERA in 2 1/3 innings.
But has he been pitching like in the 6th inning? Sometimes you have to watch with how they're using it. If they're pitching him in the 6th inning, something's not right. They're not. It just happened with Abner Uribe. He was 1 minute he's closing, the next minute he's pitching in the 6th inning. It's like what's happening there? So who's the closer in Milwaukee?
Well, if it's not Abner Uribe, it's that Pompayo or whatever his name is.
And he's been getting rocked. He's been getting rocked too. Another guy, ERA over 5. I mean, he's horrible. Milwaukee needs Devin back. I mean,
Devin Williams with his crushed discs is probably a better closer right now.
Just as he is.
Yeah, he's not coming back to the July again. Milwaukee has problems in the bullpen, and when it's going to get better, no idea.
All right, let's check in on rookies. We talked about Leiter. I almost called him Al Leiter. Is he related to Al Leiter?
Son of Al Leiter.
Son of. That's what I thought. But the rookies as they come up, or however they're doing so far, our cover boy Colton Cowser, the Orioles. How's he doing, Case? You're our prospect guy.
He's crushing the ball right now. In the last 7 days, he's the number 1 player in fantasy. He's in the last 7 days, he's batting .385 with 4 home runs, 2 stolen bases, 8 RBIs on the season. Let's see what he's doing. He started off slow.
Yep.
But Colton.
I mean, it's looking to me like you want almost any piece of the Baltimore lineup right now.
He's currently the 21st player in fantasy, batting .400, 4 home runs, 15 RBIs, 3 steals. I mean, that's
some
crazy.
Good stuff.
Yeah. And he's a rookie too, guys. I know he played last year, but he didn't qualify enough. Didn't get enough at bats, so he's still a rookie this year. So him and Langford are going to be the two head-to-head guys for the rookie of the year. I don't think it's going to be Casey's guy, the shortstop for Baltimore, Jackson Holiday.
Oh, not Jackson Holiday. I thought you were talking about Gunnar Henderson, but he's their third base, right?
No,
right.
Gunner's not a rookie. He's not even close.
Yeah.
But
No,
Gunner,
he is the rookie of the year from last year.
And he also is looking like a definite all-star this year so far.
Oh, God.
That Baltimore lineup looks great. I'm curious what you guys think about Ryan Mountcastle. I picked him up. He's getting a tryout on my team. He's part of a great lineup. I cut Alec Baum to do it. Now, keep in mind, this is a 10-team league. If it was a 12-team league, I'm not sure I'd be cutting Alec Baum. But in a 10-team league, I was like, I can switch this out, especially now that I have Michael Bush. So I was like, let me try it out. What do you guys think about Mountcastle? What do you think he's going to do?
I
don't think you're him.
I'm not a huge fan. I think he's going to be kind of that league average player. I think when Baltimore reshaped the outfield, they made it crazy for right-handed power to hit consistent home runs. You have to be like Stanton-esque kind of strength to really hit a lot of home runs. So I don't think he's going to get you more than 20 and
20 homers.
Yeah, which isn't bad. Don't get me wrong, but 20 home runs is not what it used to be. That park,
Mountcastle and me, he's in a really good team. He'll get a lot of RBIs. He'll get a lot of opportunities. I like him. I like you picked him up. I think you'll start him. I think he'll have a pretty good year. I'm not really that high on him, but I don't think I think it's a really good pickup for you.
Well, the other thing is we play in a league that has OPS, and he's getting lots of walks. So I'm not sure that I would pick him up necessarily in a standard league, but in this one, I was like, I got to grab him. Anthony Rodriguez asked this about Baltimore. Who would you rather have? Ellie? Well, it's not just about Baltimore. Ellie or Gunnar?
Yeah, I'll have Casey answer that, because Casey, we have to remind you, you did say a bust on Ellie De La Cruz beginning of the year. So first of all, you got to write an apology letter to Ellie right now. You got to just write it up, send it to him, and say, listen.
And have Pete Fairbanks deliver it.
This from the man who said the first month doesn't count, right? Like that it's not something you can judge anything on. Look, Ellie De La Cruz is a top 5 player in fantasy baseball right now. I mean,
top
he's crushing the
ball
right now. Yeah, scoring runs, stealing bases. I'd rather have Gunnar Henderson.
Great catches,
but
you would have Gunnar. That's fine. I mean, I love Gunnar. I love the name too. If I was having kids again, Gunnar would be on top of the list. The name to call my son or daughter. I love it.
Yeah, but I mean, who would I rather have? I would rather have Gunnar Henderson. I still think Ellie De La Cruz strikes out too much, but the electricity factor. Like who's more fun to watch? I would, if you asked me if they were both batting at the same time, who would I rather watch? I would watch Ellie De La Cruz. Fantasy.
Who's the higher ceiling? Who's the higher ceiling?
Ellie De La Cruz has the higher ceiling.
Okay, so
that's interesting too, because Casey likes the higher ceiling usually.
He does. That's why I'm trying to bust him. So
but I like the higher ceiling over like
I'm at Matlock here.
Somebody who's
right
boring. Right. When you're
that's why you don't want Mountcastle. He doesn't have the higher ceiling.
Right.
Okay. Now I'm going to weigh in here. I would rather have Ellie De La Cruz of the two.
Yes.
And it is the ceiling, but it's also the stolen bases. I mean, and not that Gunnar Henderson's that bad. He's got 4 stolen bases already.
Year,
So he's looking good that way. But Ellie De La Cruz, he looks like he can be a complete difference maker. I would go with him. I would not have a problem with either. Uncle Ted says Mountcastle needs to be traded in order to succeed. That park sucks for righties. I agree with you, unless you're playing in an OPS league, in which case I think he provides a ton of value. All right. Uncle Ted then says Kobe Mayo playing for the Orioles will absolutely crush when he comes up. I know you've been very high on Kobe Mayo right from the start.
Question I have, Ross. Where's Kobe Mayo going to play? I'm just curious to where you put him on the team, what position. And who's going to be sitting when Kobe Mayo is starting? I'm just curious.
Mountcastle.
You think so? That would be hilarious.
Yeah.
Could have.
Who else? I mean, Cedric Mullins is destroying the ball. I mean, who do you have?
First base. That's what Mountcastle does. So
Uncle Ted's at first base. So you guys, you may have scooped me on that. We'll see. Remember though, Mountcastle's getting a tryout. You need the back end of your roster to be able to, move players around.
I love the tryout. Mountcastle will make your team. Come on, Mountcastle, you can do it.
Pistol RX says, thanks, Dan. Casey.
That's Pete the pharmacist, by the way.
Oh, that's Pete the pharmacist. Well, I understand the
Casey
pistol
reading
reference.
between the lines. Genius.
He says, thanks, Dan, Casey, and Ross the boss. I love the Superman logo as well. You are welcome. Thank you for watching. Let us know if you have any questions. All right. All right. Joey Loperfido will replace Abreu soon, and he's crushing nukes. Do you guys have him on your radar, guys?
I've been talking about him for a couple weeks. Yeah, he's a first baseman outfielder in Houston system. That's why he's talking about Abreu. Leads the minors. I think he's up to 10 home runs already on the season. Batting over 300. He's not going to bat over 300, I think, when he gets called up, but he just crushes the ball. And Abreu is way past his prime. So I said last week that he's somebody I want to have in my minors if I have a dynasty league, because I agree with Ted there. I think he's going to be up and he's going to be eventually going to be impactful. I'm not saying he's going to come up and crush right away, but
well, I love how the Astros are doing too. Just so you guys, I love it.
Yeah, see, but that's another thing is team context matters so much. There's certain teams that I trust. I mean, this guy's coming up in Houston. 10 years, maybe 15 years ago, we wouldn't have said, "Oh, trust anybody in Houston." We would say, "Trust nobody in Houston." Now they've established themselves as developing all kinds of prospects over and over and over into great, great players. They're one of the best teams in baseball in the last, 10 years. And that's hard to believe considering what their history used to be, but they've really completely changed that.
Yeah, they're cheaters.
Loperfido's big issue is he's striking out 33% of the time right now. So there's obviously holes in his swing that major league pitchers will probably be able to find a lot more.
Now, Uncle Ted says he'll have third, first, and outfield eligibility. So that's especially valuable as well. All right. Pistol RX says, drop Uribe, pick up Piamps, wait for McGill. All right. So if you're dealing with the Milwaukee situation, what do you do? First thing I'll say is if you can find another closer situation, do it. Because, I did that in the MFSN league, our redraft league. I had Uribe. I dropped him for like one of the only closers who was available, the Kansas City guy. I'm blanking on his name, but he's getting.
Who is it? There's two guys. There's MacArthur in Kansas City.
MacArthur,
is that the guy?
James MacArthur.
Yep. Or Will Smith.
Right, but MacArthur to me is the guy in Kansas
MacArthur's
City.
gotten the saves all week, 3 innings, 2 saves, 5
I'd rather have that lead. If I had to choose, though, let's say we have to choose. We only have Milwaukee relief pitchers available. Which of the three are you going with? I'm going to go with Piamps myself.
He was electric last year. This year he's getting destroyed. I don't know what's wrong with him. But last year
I might go for McGill, to be honest. He's only on the 7-day IL, so they don't expect him to be out for long.
And the other two are pitching badly.
And the other two are pitching well, or they're pitching in the 6th and 8th inning now when there isn't a closer.
Yeah.
So I would probably go with McGill.
I don't know. They should trade and get somebody with 3. I don't know.
They're rebuilding.
All right, guys, give me one guy that you would sell high on. If you've had him and he's just taken off like a rocket, but you don't. I know Ross, you don't like to say, where you stand on these players yet, but I'm sure you hedge your bets sometimes. So who's a guy that you think you would sell high on? Had a great start, but you just don't believe is going to keep it up.
Spencer Steer, the Cincinnati Reds. Killing the ball. He's doing great. He's not going to be doing this the whole year. He's not. I'm a Reds fan. I can say that he's a good hitter. He's hitting way above his means. So for me, it's Spencer Steer. If you can get something for somebody that's not hitting well, like let's say a Bryce Harper or something like that, that's kind of not what he should be doing. It's a good time to trade Spencer Steer.
Okay, Uncle Ted wants to weigh in. He says Jared Jones I'd sell high on, and Ronald Blanco.
He's over 4.
What's that?
I mean, Blanco had a no hitter, right? I mean, Jordan Hicks rocked last time. These guys are good, but their trade value. I don't know how high their trade value. They're just not.
Well,
I think Jared Jones might have some serious trade value at this
point,
the way he's looking.
He would. His ERA is not that great though in Pittsburgh, but he gets strikeouts. He strikes people out, which is good.
One thing you have to keep in mind though is you just don't know what's going to be out there. If you start talking to other managers, you could find that they're ignoring certain numbers, or they're remembering it differently, or they haven't checked out the numbers and they just like the guy. So I think You always want to look at this. I mean, Uncle Ted says Jared Jones is Strider 2.0. I'm not saying Uncle Ted is necessarily wrong about that, but this would make me want to talk to Uncle Ted about that trade.
So why is he selling high on him if he's Strider 2.0, unless you're saying he's going to get hurt?
Well, maybe this is his way of selling high. That's interesting. Well done, Uncle Ted.
Nice. Maybe he's selling. He's probably saying maybe he's going to throw his arm out. Jones, and when they bring up the other rookies, Skis, I mean, Pittsburgh's going to have a really good pitching staff. I mean, they're going to be rock solid.
All right. Anthony Rodriguez asks, is J-Rod just off to a bad start like always, or is he broken?
I think he's not. I don't think he's broken. I think he's off to a bad start. The talent's too much for broken.
So, but he to me is somebody that I would buy low with confidence, even if you're getting him for not that low.
Yeah, I would pay almost I'd pay more than he's probably worth right now.
Yeah, I mean, we're only 3 weeks into the season, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose this is week 4 technically, but go ahead, Ross. What were you going to say?
I'm saying he's just starting slow. He's too good of a player, too good of a hitter, and he's not even in his prime. 20, I think he's 25. I mean, he's not even close in his prime.
Rodriguez? I don't even think he's that old.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So
I think he's 24, but we got to check.
24. I was always that idea just in case I was wrong. But I like him. I mean, it's just let's get out of the month of April, okay? I mean,
he'll turn 24 at the end of the year, December 29th.
Wow, not even 24 yet. So Uncle Ted said, if you watch J-Rod, he's getting jammed hard. He's so off, it's not easy to watch. Yeah, I mean, there are guys who are going to have starts like that. He has so much talent. I'm not worried about him. Case, let's jump back to you in terms of a sell high candidate. Who would you have in mind?
I'm going between Marcell Ozuna and Taylor Ward.
Okay, yeah.
They're both off to, I mean, the last 2 weeks, Ozuna has a 400 average and 18 RBIs. Like he's behind William Contreras, catcher, ironically. And then Taylor Ward's been 308, 3 home runs, 2 stolen bases in the last couple of weeks. Again, they're guys who are, Ozuna is one of those streaky guys. And right now he's just on fire. Taylor Ward is one who I'll be the first to admit I never give him enough credit, I don't think. So I never believe in him, and that's something biased about me, I guess. I don't know, because he has low exit velocities, and I look at that stuff. But
yeah, but here's my question to you about that, Casey. Guys like that, I agree with you that they are sell high candidates. They're not going to keep doing what they're doing. The question is how much value are you going to get from them? Like Ryan McMahon is another. Ryan McMahon's been doing great, but people do know about him. He's got a track record. All they have to do is click on it and look at his stats and see. So the question is how much are you going to get for him? Go ahead, Case.
Mike Trout.
Mike Trout was going to be my guy, actually. That's funny because he's got the track record to show he can do it, but he's
and the name value, and he's crushing
and he's got the name value. So I think you can get a lot more.
Guys, I mean, I live in California. Angel games. When he's healthy and his swing's there and he's playing like there's nothing wrong, I think he could be an MVP candidate this year. I really do.
Absolutely, and that's why you can get a ton for him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's my opinion. I mean, the average schmo.
But there's also the 60% chance he's going to have a back issue and miss 4 weeks in the middle of the season.
Okay. I'm just saying when he's healthy,
it's mostly hedging your bets, I think.
Yeah.
But guys are right.
And I just think when you're looking for a sell high, you want to look for somebody who's really going to bring something in. I mean, Marcell Ozuna, he's a total sell high, but at the same time, he's an older player. People have seen him do what he does. They kind of know what to expect. With Mike Trout, they also know what to expect, and yet you can sell high, I think, for more.
Okay, I'll throw an email. Let me throw an email. Tell me what you guys would, if you had him on. I don't think either of us have any shares of this guy. I know I don't.
Okay.
But he's the top. He's one of the top fantasy guys right now. He's crushing the ball. It's Mookie Betts of the Dodgers. If you guys had Mookie Betts, would you sell high? Would you want him, or would you want to trade for him?
I want him.
In a redraft league, I want him.
Okay.
However, if you are in a dynasty or keeper league,
in a dynasty or keeper league, if I'm not in the race this year, come closer to the trade deadline, then absolutely I would look to move him.
But listen, even if I am in it this year, I would consider moving him because at a certain point you have to cash out. And if you get enough value back, I'm not saying sell him at all costs, But I mean, if you can get let's say you can get Kyle Tucker and I don't know, some other really solid player at second base, I might do it, especially in a dynasty or keeper league. I probably would go for something like that. Let's move to guys that you would buy low on. They have not done well, and you're looking at them and thinking, I believe him. We talked about Julio Rodriguez. We're all, I think, in the buy low camp on him. Who else is a buy low candidate? And so far, we've mostly talked about hitters. We can move to pitchers shortly. But
well, I think
go ahead.
I think Aaron Judge is a buy low guy, especially in redraft leagues.
Corbin Carroll's another. He hasn't been that good.
Yeah,
buy low on him.
Great. Who else? I mean, Rafael Devers, assuming his MRI comes back clean, Rafi Devers has to be a buy low.
Ronald Acuna, the number one pick in most fantasy baseball leagues, does not have a home run.
It's been crazy. Yeah.
But
you have to kind of take advantage of when the manager who has him is going to be really frustrated. They drafted him as the number one player. He hasn't hit a single home run yet.
No, he hit his first one last night, I think.
Oh, all right. I stand corrected.
I was drinking last. I was on I didn't know that. But, yes.
But I also think another one you can get probably pennies on the dollar is Francisco Lindor.
That's what Uncle Ted said here in the chat. Yep.
Oh,
so yeah, Lindor. I mean, currently in Yahoo, he's the 797th ranked player in our MFSN league, but he's batting 151. That's not going to keep up. Definitely buy low.
No, but I mean, again, I hate Mets. I don't take any Mets on my team. I don't like them. I don't like their team. I don't like their owner. I don't like anything about the Mets. So there you go. So I'm happy.
Casey, what about your namesake?
Vladimir Guerrero Jr.?
Yes, Vlad to the bone.
I would buy low on him, but I'm starting to. I mean, we're going 3 years in a row now of
you're gonna have to change your name.
Well, I have to change him because Miguel drafted him ahead of me in our draft. But you can
get him for cheap.
I'd have to take a much closer look at the underlying metrics, at the exit velocity, his line drive rate, his batting average on balls in play, see if he's getting unlucky and still making hard contact. If that stuff is present, then he's absolutely a buy low kind of candidate. On the pitching side, that's why I think the top pitcher to buy low right now is Luis Castillo. He was projected to be an ace, drafted to be an ace. And right now he's 870th, I think, in Yahoo for so far this year. But he's still striking out 27 batters and only 21 innings. So his K rate per nine is still very good. That's something I look at. And his expected ERA is almost a run and a half lower than his actual ERA. And so those statistics, when you look at them, you think he's getting pretty unlucky and he could go on one of those runs like he had in Cincinnati. And then when he first came over to Seattle, where he was like unhittable for 9 or 10 straight starts.
I like that. How about you,
Ross? Think about, last year, this guy was a disappointment and then he peated up back in September. Trey Turner is a year older. He's in his mid-30s, I would say. I think 33, 34. But he is not hitting like he did when he was a Dodger. I know he can steal bases. I get it. But, I mean, he was a second-round leagues this year. What do you do with him, Casey? Do you keep him?
If somebody's willing to sell him, I'm buying him now. I mean, I would pay for him, because also in the last 2 weeks, he's batting 380, has a couple home runs, has a couple stolen bases, has scored 8 runs. So if somebody's not paying attention to what he's done recently because his overall numbers are still low, I'm absolutely a buy low guy for him.
By the way, he's only 30. I mean, he came in the league really, really young.
Yeah.
All right. Anthony Rodriguez says Vladdy's counting stats looking good so far. So, if you're looking under the hood, that's one thing to look at. I think he's definitely a buy low candidate, but to have Casey have cooled on him this much, it does make me want to investigate more, I have to say. All right. Brooks Durham, good to see you here. You think Gunnar finishes the season better than Trey? I'll turn it over to you first on that, Ross.
Well, Trey's going to have more stolen bases, as we all know.
Yeah.
But Gunnar, I think, will have more home runs, more BIs, more scored runs. I'd rather have Gunnar. I love the youth movement in Baltimore. I'm jumping up and down about it. I think the team is going to be good for the next 10 years. The team is a team to reckon with. And Trey Turner to me, he played in LA And I know kids that went up to him and asked for his autograph, and he was really rude to these kids. He's not a nice guy. He's just not a nice guy. He's not like a fan. He's a player that shows up, does his job, and goes home. He doesn't do the little things. Which, fine, I get it. I get you don't want to be bothered. Oh God, God forbid you sign an autograph of a kid. But you know what? That's being a ball player, and just his locker room. People didn't like him at the Dodgers. That's why. I don't want because of that. He's just not a good team player. He's an individual.
Is this some Tony Todd insider information that you're giving?
Maybe.
I want to know how you got that info.
Maybe. I've seen it with my own eyes. I live in LA. I go to Dodger games once in a blue moon.
I think at the end of the season, one's going to have more. Gunnar will have more home runs and RBIs. Trey Turner will have more stolen bases and runs scored.
But I think Gunner's going to help you more across the board.
But Gunnar,
that's why I want him. I also think he's on the upswing. I think he's got higher upside because he's on the upswing. Meanwhile, I don't understand why major league players wouldn't sign autographs for kids. That should be part of the joy. I mean, what's not to like about a kid who wants that?
I've seen so many players say no to kids. It's crazy.
That's insane.
Spring training, I've seen it everywhere. It's just, it's not good.
Let's jump back to some. What's that, Ross? Go ahead.
No, it's just, I get that they're harassed and bothered other time they sign, but you know what? It's part of being a player. That's
especially if it's a kid. Come on.
Yeah. Or a big kid like me too. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Or big kids. I mean, everybody was once a kid. All right. I have Kevin Gausman on my team. What do I do with him?
Well, he pitched well last night.
Of course,
he's starting to figure it out. He's starting to figure it out. His velocity is getting up again in his last start. He's going a little farther in games. Remember, he had a shortened preseason because of some tired arm or whatever they said he had. So I believe in him. Obviously, I still think he's a top 5 or top 7 starting pitcher the rest of the way. So if I were you, I would.
You're right.
Not trade him.
I last night was a big audition. If he didn't do well last night, I would have waived him. I mean, that's how much he was so.
Don't trust me. Ross would never have done that. Don't buy it.
I don't know about no. Passed. He's passed. He's not being waived. He passed. But I'm a harsh critic. So you're talking to,
but not waived. Well, not only that, but even if he had sucked, you would not have cut Kevin Gausman.
I don't know about that. I've done some crazy things. Keep going.
You would? Wow. All right. Well, here's the other supposed ace that is destroying me is Blake Snell. What do we think about him?
No,
he's such a Jekyll and Hyde guy.
No, I don't want him. I mean, he had 0 spring training, which is never a good thing. He's only had 2. He's won 2 Cy Youngs, and they were the only 2 good years he's had in 8.
It's so weird. That's the thing. I mean, 2 Cy Youngs.
I mean, the strikeout numbers are going to be there, but he doesn't go deep in games because he walks too many guys. His whip is always high.
Yep. And we went away from wins and we went to quality starts, and Blake Snell's even worse for that. It's a great stat, but it's going to be even worse for Blake Snell.
So, question.
Go ahead, Ross. Yep.
Jordan Montgomery fired Boris, his agent, signed with the Group, got signed immediately by the Arizona Diamondbacks. Starting this weekend, what do you do with Jordan Montgomery? Is it somebody you pick up?
I pick him up, but I bench him his first 3 starts.
Okay.
Case, say more what you were thinking with that.
Well, because he didn't have spring training also. So I look at his first few starts as kind of his spring training where he's just trying to fine-tune his command and fine-tune his control with his different pitches and figure out what's going to work and what's not going to work. So he might only go 3 2/3 or 4 2/3, or maybe he gets up to 5 and give up 4 runs, but come out and say, well, that felt better than I thought it would. So I'm right where I want to be. It's great for Arizona come the playoffs. Like their
playoffs.
Their rotation will be stacked with Gallen and Fott and him come August and September. But I would wait probably till middle to end of May before I'm comfortable.
Got it.
This, I don't know if this would qualify in your mind as a buy low candidate, but a guy like Zack Wheeler, he just hasn't done that well in the wins and loss columns. And so his ranking is lower than it should be, but he's looked great.
I'd much rather have Zack Wheeler. Yeah.
But I'm just saying there's an opportunity to buy low just a little bit on a player like Zack Wheeler. You can't get a huge deal, but you may be able to
I don't know about that, Dan, just because all the aces that are going down with injuries.
That's true, actually. That's a good point.
Wheeler's still standing. He's still standing like a little kid. I'm just quoted Elton John. So it's weird with some of the like Zach Gallen for Arizona, who's pitching lights out right now. ERA under 2 and he's more strikeouts than innings pitched. I mean, right now the aces are just you count your blessings.
It's a really good point. You have to know your commodities in fantasy baseball, and Zack Wheeler's value has actually just gone up since the beginning of the year because of all the injuries. Spencer Strider goes down, Zack Wheeler's value goes up.
Garrett Cole.
Yep. Now Anthony Rodriguez says Blake Snell is fool's gold. I totally agree with you, Anthony. The one thing I will say though is, and I'm not saying this to defend myself, but for people who ended up with Blake Snell, sometimes they got him because he comes at a value because we know he's fool's gold.
I mean, if you get him in the 16th or 17th round or wherever it is you took him.
I took him hoping it would be fool's gold that turns into gold, but I didn't pay a lot for him. What about George? What about George Kirby?
I trust him still.
I do too.
He's a control and command guy. He'll figure it out. Logan Gilbert's actually pitching better than he is right now, I think.
Yep.
I mean, Seattle, I told you guys beginning of the show, they're the most disappointing team.
The whole team is struggling.
The talent they have and the way they're playing is just embarrassing. I mean, it's just their pitching is supposed to be one of the best in the American League. They're not doing that.
It's I
know one of their starters, Wu, is hurt. I get it. But
he should be coming back soon, I think.
He should be coming back.
Rehab assignments.
We're all in rehab, Casey. You know that. You and I have been in and out of
we're
rehab.
all 50-ish.
Oh, yeah, it's true. So, all being said, I mean, yes, I like Kirby. I think, like Casey said, he's a control guy. He's not pitching up his potential yet. I mean, you can buy him, maybe buy him low right now. Casey, what do you think?
Look, if the price is right, I think he's a buy low kind of guy. And if you're looking at like a Tanner Houck or a Garrett Whitlock or even Garrett Crochet, these kind of people who have come out of nowhere and you can turn that into Kirby, I would do that.
Wait, go back. Crochet, you're not getting a White Sox on your team when you're out of your mind to pick up Crochet. I mean, he got rocked last time he pitched. I mean, there's no reason to have him on your team. The White Sox are an embarrassment to baseball. They'll be lucky to win 50 games. They're worse than the A's, Casey. They really are. And
remember in football when we used to do Ross's rant? This is one of them. Go.
Yeah,
but just so you know, Garrett Crochet's numbers on the year, 22 innings pitched, 31 strikeouts, a .84 whip. So
right. I mean, sometimes people just aren't going to peek under the hood enough, and they're just going to see those numbers.
But again, pitchers for the White Sox.
Yep. I mean, look, it's a limitation. Meanwhile, there's a guy like Ronaldo Lopez. Nobody's even picking up. I mean, he's pitching great. Baby. He's pitching great, but nobody wants him because he's a
new Strider. He's the new Strider. He's going to pick up the slack for Strider in Atlanta.
Mean, look, you could do worse as a tryout on the back end of your bench and just see, did he catch lightning in a bottle? Did the pitching staff?
I mean, he plays on a team where, Atlanta's going to win the East, guys. Okay. I mean, I know Strider's out for the year. I get it. But with their hitting alone, that's going to carry them into the pennant. So we all know that. Is Ronaldo Lopez going to be starting for them every fifth start? Yeah. He's having a great year. I mean, last year he didn't. The year before he didn't. So this year he is.
Would you start him with confidence? Obviously, he's not a buy low or sell high guy. He's on the waiver wire. But
the A's or Miami, yes. White Sox, yes. But if he's pitching against Texas or Houston, I know Houston, the lineup is still potent. He's going against the Dodgers. I mean, it just depends who's he pitching against. But there's a lot of bad teams out there, guys. There's a lot of great starts or pitchers because the teams that are just horrible.
Now, here's an interesting one. This is like an automatic sell high for me because I hate having. I think you'll remember this from my history. Jose Barrios. Remember? I drafted him early in the league last year. He just
tell us the story again. Tell the audience the story when what happens.
He had like a 7-something ERA.
I love this story. It was a disaster. I mean, at least I sat him a lot of the time, but he just was destroying me. Finally, I got sick of it. I had to cut him. I was like, I just get him off my team. So I get him off my team. Then he starts pitching well.
Yeah.
And now coming into the draft this year, I'm thinking there's no way I will draft Jose Berrios. I don't care if he falls to me in the 25th round. I didn't draft him. I did not. I stayed away. But now he's doing well. And like I look over at him and I'm like, yeah, I mean, his strikeouts per 9 are not very good. I don't think he's going to keep this up. But
yeah, I don't know.
He always makes me look bad no matter what.
Yeah.
All right, Uncle Ted.
I do like Kikuchi. I do like Kikuchi in Toronto. I think he's the real deal.
The what?
You say Kikuchi. Kikuchi.
Kikuchi.
I love saying that. I love saying Kikuchi.
And look out for Ricky Tiedemann coming up soon for them.
Yep.
Ooh, I like him.
Uncle Ted says Blake Snell is awesome. He'll be all right. I like your thinking, Uncle Ted. I hope you're right about that.
Awesome.
And he says Crochet is nice. AF. Do we swear on this show? I guess we
do not.
I think we usually do.
It's too easy. But when I'm Crochet, again, it's the White Sox. You don't want a White Sox pitcher on your team.
Okay, but do you want a former top prospect of a White Sox a player on your team? Like Anthony Rodriguez points out Reynaldo Lopez used to be. You never know. It's really true. You never know. Yariel Rodriguez is the Blue Jays' next ace. Guys, you want to comment before we wrap up the show?
I know. He looked good. I saw him pitch.
My problem with Yariel Rodriguez is he's already 27 years old.
Mm-hmm. Ageist. KCB ageist.
He's the Cuban guy, right?
Oh, well, then he might be older than that.
He could be 38.
Could be right. Exactly. How old is Bartolo Colon now? 71.
I love Bartolo. I follow him on Instagram. You gotta follow him. You gotta follow
Bartolo.
Please.
Oh, all right. I should. I'll do that. All right, guys. It has been a great show. Thank you for watching. Thanks for the questions. It is a pleasure as always, and keep them coming. We will be here next week. Tuesdays are Casey and Ross. It's 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. That's our waiver wire show. Then we'll be back on Thursdays for our strategy show with the three of us together. Guys, it has been a pleasure. Casey, Ross.